I'm going to show you how to make my unpatented, very simple watering station for honeybees that holds 5 gallons of water. Should last several days, if not several weeks, depending on how many hives are taking the water from it. It's pretty crude. I use a plastic bucket. I get these, they're pickle buckets. I get them from the local deli a friend of mine owns. Get them for free. You can find them anywhere. I don't like to use anything that's had non-food items in it. So I have, this is one that I had made sometime previously, a couple years ago, and I'm going to take it apart here, show you what I did. Screwed this top lid in here. I took another bucket and I cut the top off of that bucket so that it fits down and then rests tightly, snugly inside of the main bucket. And that's in order to lock our shade cloth or whatever material you choose to use. This is why I'm taking this one apart. You see this? This was all burlap that I had used for this purpose. The reason I use burlap is because it can wick the water upwards, and so you can get water moisture all the way to the very top of the bucket when the water level is very low. So that's why I used it, and it didn't work out so well because the burlap rotted. So I'm going to dump that out. There's some leaves in there. I'm going to leave the leaves in there. Bees like this stuff. It makes a sort of tea that they will use in order to make their propolis. Next step in making this thing is, we already talked about that. I don't think I need to show you how to use a Sawzall or something in order to cut that ring. So I use shade cloth. Now, this shade cloth, I've got 2 layers here, and I'm going to cut it down to 1 layer. You only need 1 layer. All you're trying to do is to make some footing so the bees can, come in here and they can crawl up and down. No matter what the water level is, they can crawl up and down in order to get access to the water. It gives them footing, prevents them from falling in, and it also allows for more bees to to drink some of the water. You notice here that it doesn't quite go all the way around. The bees don't care. Don't worry about it. You can use scraps of cloth all the way around, scraps of some sort of cloth that's not going to rot all the way around, rags, it doesn't matter. They don't care. You can use different colors. They don't care. So I'm going to take, so that I can make more of these out of this, or another one of these out of this same piece of cloth. Cut it along lengthwise here. And if it doesn't go to the bottom, that's also cool too, because you really don't want the water getting down that low before you refill it. I go in and I'll refill these when they're down maybe a quarter of the way. If I have to go out of town for some reason, they might get down halfway, but if they're getting down that far or down towards the bottom of the barrel, you're really not doing your job as a beekeeper. You need to pay more attention to your hives. It's not a criticism, it's an observation. I have a screw here. And these are just very, very short. They're 1/2-inch sheet metal screws, and I don't like to use long ones because when I stick my hands in there, it scratches my arms and makes me bleed, and I don't like that. I hate bleeding all over the place. So then wrap a little bit of a lip around the edges here. Take our pre-cut bucket top, and you can go, 1 inch or so of a lip around here, and that should fit snugly all the way around. And then in order to lock that into place, I take my little short sheet metal screws and screw it in. You get the idea. one screw is good, 2 screws is better, 3 screws is enough, too many is too many. And you do have to be careful reaching into this bucket because those screws will poke through and they will scratch you, and they're sharp enough to cause a little bit of bleeding. And then, before I fill this up, let's see here, let's take this. So you see the bucket is lined pretty much all the way around. The water can get down to the bottom here. They can walk down here and they can walk back out. That's the whole idea. I'll be putting in some of my cork floats that I'll show in a minute, how I build those. The other thing that I like to do is I'll take this, this is not an endorsement, but and you see it in reverse, but mosquito dunks, it's a little cake thing. I just break off like 1/8 of it and put it in there in order to try and keep the mosquito population at bay. Anytime you ever see mosquitoes in your bee water, then please put another one of these in here. You don't want to be breeding mosquitoes for any reason. And it might work against other insects. It's also benign for bees. It doesn't harm the bees at all. It only affects your mosquito larvae and other bad insects. The shade cloth I got in a large roll. Again, this can come in many different colors. Black, tan. I think there's some reds, but it doesn't matter. Again, the bees don't really have any sense of aesthetics as we do. You can actually use a wood bucket if you want to, copper buckets, what have you. It doesn't matter. The material of the bucket doesn't matter as long as you have that material on the inside so that they can crawl in and out.